Dneska jsme přišli na velkou výstavu, jednu z největších, kde se probírají alternativní zdroje. Snažil jsem se a požádal jsem Mr. Bassetta o rozhovor, aby řekl, co vše je nového. A tohle vše je uděláno narychlo, takže nevím, jak to bude vypadat, ale je to vlastně všechno určeno pro svobodný vysílač. Pro diváky je to narychlo dělané, tak se omlouvám, jestli to bude trošku zmatkový, ale to je asi vše, takže můžeme začít. So we can start, Mr. Bassett. I just want to ask you, how do you like today's conference over here?
Oh, this is, I think, the 16th, Conscious Life Expo under Robert Quicksilver. There were some before that. It's a huge event, 55 speakers, 5 or 6 tracks, thousands of people come through. It's pretty exciting. It's like a...
Great exposure.
Yeah, you're like almost overwhelmed with the... all the things that
field energy and stuff like that.
And of course, it's very new age. It's high consciousness stuff, and I like hanging out. I'm kind of a nuts and bolts fellow, but I enjoy being in a place like this, and you have an opportunity to speak to a fairly good sized audience. And my lecture was last night, went well, and I have a panel tomorrow. So Conscious Life Expo 2018, all good.
All good.
Yes.
Yeah, I got to remember we did talk, I believe 1 year ago or so.
About?
Via internet, via Skype. And you've been talking in this time about a program which you develop to find out about connection of US government and when they don't want to introduce the truth to the people. If you can talk about that a little bit.
My work for 21 years has been actually quite simple. Its goal is simple, and that is the United States government, the president, will announce that there's an extraterrestrial presence. That the phenomenon is real, obviously, and there's extraterrestrials here. That's pretty simple, but the implications are enormous. We call that event, when it happens, disclosure, capital D disclosure.
Right.
And the areas, the politics of disclosure, and that's my area. So I'm really a political activist. I'm not a researcher, but I called my organization Paradigm Research Group, just to confuse people, because I initially set up as a lobbyist representing a number of groups that were dealing with the issue. Okay. So we are now 71 years since the end of, or since the Roswell event.
Right.
The truth embargo has been in place that entire time, but this year may be the year it ends.
You think so? Yeah?
I think so. Last year, I spent 7 months in London. I gave an interview in Moscow. I've been releasing that interview now on my website. We have the emergence of a insider group from the Pentagon and the CIA that have become part of a team put together by Tom DeLonge, and this is the most powerful team of individuals in the public arena that's ever been come together. And they're all but saying there's an extraterrestrial presence, and they're releasing key information. That's started in October of last year.
Right.
There's more coming. That's going to be huge pressure on the truth embargo. So this year is intense. People are getting very excited. The organization that was set up to bring this team together, called the To the Stars Academy of Arts and Science, has already raised $2.5 million from the public in a couple of months. I'm already booked into 12 conferences, including one in end of July in Barcelona, Spain, and then in October in Turkey.
Barcelona.
Right? And if I get an opportunity to speak in any other countries, I'm very interested in that. I know your family's from the Czech Republic.
That, yeah.
I've heard a lot of good things about the Czech Republic, and I'd love to visit. So if there's an event that takes place there, and they're interested in having a Yank come over and talk,
of course I will let you know.
Yeah. So this is going to be a powerful year. Now the politics in the U.S. is chaotic. It's a mess. I get that. But the disclosure process has its own thread, its own track.
Right. Exactly.
And I don't think the politics can really interfere with it at this point.
Yeah, that's true. So you just mentioned it when you're gonna be maybe interested about the conference or symposium in Czech Republic in Prague too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I just noticed when I said before the interview, I know some people who are very interested over there about your work, and I will gonna talk to them probably next week.
Great, thank you.
And I will let you know for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you really think gonna happen when all the information about UFOs coming in public? What's gonna happen?
Well, I've talked about that. I have colleagues that talk about this. We call it the post-disclosure world.
Yeah.
The era that will occur once the announcement is made. History will almost be divided at that point. Everything prior to disclosure of the ET presence and everything after. So that would be PD and AD.
Exactly.
Right? I don't think they'll start the calendar over, but you never know. All right? As I've said many times, tens of thousands of books throughout the rest of, over the next 100, 200 years are going to be written about disclosure in the post-disclosure world and what happens. There's almost no aspect of the human condition or human civilization that won't be affected by it.
That's the church world, yeah.
So the world will change. It will not happen overnight, but the changes will manifest. I've described it this way. When you drop a pebble into still water, it sets off ripples.
Right.
And they have a certain wavelength. And then as they spread out, the wavelength gets smaller. Okay?
Smaller and smaller, yeah.
Disclosure will be the reverse of that. It'll be like dropping a pebble into the water, only quite a pebble. And as the ripples move out, they will get larger and larger and larger, which of course is physically impossible, but that's the way it's going to work. And so every year, every month, every year that goes by after disclosure, the effects and the change it's going to have in the world will grow and grow and grow. And then there is a realistic possibility, based on my just sense of it all. It's not, I don't have any hard information on this, but it would not surprise me at all if full open contact finally takes place, perhaps 2 years after the disclosure event takes place. I happen to think that the whole process has been leading to that all along, and disclosure is a critical a milestone that must be reached. So if we had disclosure this year, we could be in open contact with these extraterrestrials in 2020. And by open contact, I mean they're talking to our governments. This communication is announced. Perhaps they're even being seen on film. Not necessarily. I'm not saying they might be sitting down in the same room, but nevertheless, this kind of, well, you know, with the modern technology, you can, well, they could Skype together. You know, the ETs and the humans could Skype. That's open contact, and then that means that some sort of relationship would be now a formal relationship in a way between us and perhaps multiple civilizations. Not shocking. I mean, that's what we do on the planet, right? You got nations meet and create formal relations with other nations. In this case, it's other planets, other planetary civilizations. That's very possible within 2 years of disclosure. So we're in some potentially incredible times. I'm glad I'm still here for that. I have many colleagues that are not, and so this is, and so I'm eager to. And I did in 2009. I did a 11-country, 18-lecture tour of Europe. Then I did another smaller one. I think the next year, the 2 years. And you know, I got to Bulgaria, I got to Finland and Sweden and Norway and Denmark and so forth. Never made it far enough east to get in the Czech. But so that's next. You know, can I do that? I welcome speaking in these other countries because this is a global phenomenon. The ETs didn't just come here for the Americans, I can assure you.
That's for sure,
They
yeah.
are engaging the whole planet. They have been for a while, who knows, maybe even thousands of years. Ancient aliens. I really, for a long time now, I see myself as a global citizen. I don't see myself as this national, this niche, whatever. I feel I'm global citizen. There are people trying to create global passports. There's a couple of organizations, I think, have even done it, and you can get a global passport, which really doesn't mean a damn thing, except it's kind of cool. I envision a day when you have a global passport that allows you to go anywhere on the planet under the proper arrangements. And I'd love to be the first person that gets that passport.
That'd be great, yeah. Just last week they started talking about Elon Musk when he sent. I don't know what you think about him and about the process.
He's amazing. He's brilliant. He hit it huge, made huge amount of money, and now he can do cool things, including sending his car into space.
Yeah,
which I'm sure there's a lot of guys out there that wish they could do that. A lot of people think it was a waste. Why are you doing that? But they needed to test a payload,
right.
And it's a lot cheaper than some multi-million-dollar satellite that could blow up on the pad. So he sends a Tesla Roadster into space with a astronaut in it, knowing that was going to create an internet meme that would go round the world and last for a very long time. Millions and millions of dollars of publicity. Because, my God, the jokes, the cartoons, they're already starting. And then you see these photos. What's interesting, and I'm not criticizing here, but they show all these photos from different angles of the Roadster in space. And a lot of people think those are photos of the Roadster in space. No, it's not. They have this Roadster up on a giant kind of tripod rather,
Mm-hmm.
big thing, and then they've got these big photos of space and the Earth, and they're taking shots of it in this building, and they're putting those out. No problem, right? Because they weren't going to have to put, in order to do it in space, they had to put these cameras up attached to the car, and that's it. That just takes a lot of the, and so but it's just as good. I'm assuming that it made it up there intact and everything is copacetic, and that there's this space guy listening to David Bowie on a continuous loop on a Tesla Roadster. I mean, look, that is the coolest thing I think anybody's ever done.
Yeah, he can afford it.
He can afford it, but he brought a lot of fun to this, But as far as, there is one problem with Elon Musk and SpaceX and Branson that I would love to ask them about, and I did send a tweet to him I sent a tweet to SpaceX. I'm sure he reads all the tweets. And that's this. The government's got anti-gravitic propulsion now. They've had it for some time. They don't need rockets anymore. Not in their, what we'll call, the government space program, not the public. Right. And so he's spending all this money to build these rockets to send stuff up. And the government's got anti-gravitic propulsion. So what does he know that? Does he think that he's, these new rockets that they're creating is the future of space? And what happens if disclosure takes place and suddenly, eventually, shortly thereafter, the anti-gravitic propulsion is brought forward and revealed? Where does that leave Elon and Richard Branson? Do they look foolish, or is there a plan here? What's going on? So that's the thing that's intriguing about him. For me, there is another billionaire involved right now, and that's Robert Bigelow, and that's a very different situation. Bigelow has put $500 million into creating useful, flexible, inexpensive space habitats. And that's something else, and that's needed, and that's appropriate. And so what he's doing, right on, he's not going to be that much affected if new technology comes out from the black programs. They're going to need that technology. So I think he's in the right place. But Elon and Richard, I don't know what's going on there. Right? Anyway, but still, hey, yeah. And when you saw those two, rocket, I forget what they call them. They're boosters. When you saw those things fall off and then land together on the pad, I gotta admit, I was impressed. Even NASA's never done that. They lost one of them, the big one they lost out at sea. But, and they were to land that. If that had landed too in the ocean on that water, the land pad, that would have been the hat trick. That would have been, as they say in hockey, the hat trick. That would have been unbelievable, but they lost two. So, hey, look, given the times we're in, commercial technology that could take us to Mars, whatever,
Why not? Yeah.
landing rockets together, roadsters in space, we need this because the world is still a mess. The politics is still screwed up. Nations are making plenty of mistakes, and we have not taken care of business. So I think it's wonderful, and I hope we see more of it.